Welcome to Jungle Magic Fellowship. Here's the story of the lost city of the monkey god, discovered in 2015 through an epic scientific expedition into one of the most dangerous locations on the planet. Mosquitia is a deadly rainforest in the nation of Honduras, which had the highest murder rate per capita in the world at this time. The law enforcement and judicial system were collapsing, and entire cities were taken over by narco warlords and human traffickers. But for 500 years, there have been rumors of a cursed city in the jungle, and the world grew more and more curious. In 1980, UNESCO named it a World Heritage Site because it's a unique and ancient rainforest habitat with archaeological interest. It's called the Amazon of Central America, with rattlesnakes, coral snakes, pit vipers, crocodiles, jaguars, and endangered plant species. It has a dense 150-foot triple canopy of interlocking foliage, and there were only a few hand-sketched maps from explorers who have survived to talk about it. Satellite radar can penetrate several feet of dry sand to make an image of what lies beneath the surface in the desert, but it cannot penetrate the water flowing through the trees in a mature rainforest. No one had any idea how to discover what was hidden, except to cut it down. Then a scientific revolution happened in 2006, when archaeologists teamed up with NASA and NCALM, the National Center for Airborne Laser Mapping, to use a LiDAR machine to map the ruined city of Caracol in Belize. It was published as an archaeological paradigm shift and the greatest advancement since carbon dating. LiDAR stands for Light Detection and Ranging. It was developed in the 1960s with laser technology for Apollo astronauts to map the surface of the moon. And the Mars Global Surveyor satellite made a topographic map of Mars with non-stop LiDAR from 1996 to 2006, considered the most advanced mapping project in human history. LiDAR sprays millions of laser signals from a low-flying aircraft to the ground in pulses from all possible angles. Then it measures the amount of time it takes for each individual signal to bounce back from whatever surface it hits. This creates a three-dimensional image of a point cloud, and you can filter out all signals which did not reach the depth of the forest floor and see the landscape as it would appear without layers of vegetation. The LiDAR machine tracks its own relative position with an inertial measurement unit, which is classified military technology used in cruise missiles to pinpoint targets within 1 inch of accuracy and self-correct in flight. Because of this, LiDAR itself is classified and cannot leave the United States without a military permit. The president of Honduras thought a big archaeological discovery would be good news to bring his people together under a national identity, so he arranged a permit and full support to map the Mosquitia Rainforest using LiDAR. NASA and NCALM coordinated with Conservation International's Rapid Assessment Program to fly a LiDAR machine in a lawnmower pattern over the Mosquitia Rainforest and analyze the data. And they almost immediately identified obvious pyramids and right angles, evidence of large sets of ruins on the scale of multiple cities in the middle of the jungle. So they planned an expedition with archaeologists, biologists, ethnobotanists, photographers, videographers, and a senior jungle warfare instructor, advanced trauma medic, tracker, and sniper for the Special Air Services. They were also escorted by a contingent of the Honduran National Military. This is like a Stargate episode, mixing scientists with military experts to chase after a mystery with the most advanced technologies in the face of deadly diseases, venomous snakes, violence, and man-eating predators. They landed in helicopters as close as they could get to the identified locations, and they hiked the rest of the way into the jungle valley. What they discovered is more significant than anyone has been able to explain yet, and the story is barely getting noticed by the scientific community.
So it shows you in real time where you are. It has the GPS receiver antenna. It has a built-in, very sophisticated barometer, corrective satellites, and a really nice math engine. All of that stuff together means that once we're out here and we get a signal, you can walk for, I think, over a kilometer. Right now I'm getting accuracy of 70 centimeters or so. All right, let me look over this edge here.
The team expected to see the ruins of the pyramid ahead of them in the jungle at any moment, but instead they realized they had been walking up the slope of the pyramid itself.
This whole thing was paved. It's all covered in sediment. That whole surface you're walking on was paved, Doug.
There are inscriptions right here.
There are?
Yes.
The jungle had swallowed the entire structure, and the scientists broke into chaos to find they were surrounded by artifacts sticking out of the mud.
Oh my goodness, a lot of zoomorphic.
Okay, guys.
Stop.
No, whoa. Nobody walk on this. Nobody walk on this stuff. Everybody back up. Yep. I know. I'm staying right here for a reason.
Whoa, Steve.
I'm
Okay.
just putting my stick there. Don't.
Okay.
Cool it, man.
They were in the middle of a city built for thousands of people, and nobody had touched it since it was abandoned. It was exactly what they were looking for, and they hardly had to disturb the jungle at all. However, there is no monkey god in this story. After reading the book and watching everything I can find about it, I honestly don't even remember where that comes from. There's no monkey god. It's officially called the City of the Jaguar, and it's now protected by the military. It will take decades to fully excavate it, and there are 19 cities like it in the surrounding valleys. So who lived in the Mosquitia Rainforest? They weren't Mayans, but the Mayans knew about them. They built their cities in a far more difficult region than anywhere the Mayans tried to live. And apparently they survived long after the Mayans collapsed. They were farming on a large scale, with irrigation canals and terra preta soil, raised garden beds, orchards, terraces, retaining walls, and courtyards. Stone was not abundant in the jungle, so it was used only to form the foundations of structures. But they would have been finished with other materials, like adobe plaster and jungle hardwoods, mahogany, purple rosewood, cedar, and sweet gum. The indigenous peoples of Honduras are famous for weaving and fiber technologies, and the City of the Jaguar may have been draped in richly woven and colored textiles. The bottom line is that we have no idea who these people were or what they were thinking about or talking about. It seems everyone died or disappeared at once in a sudden catastrophe. And the rumors of Honduras say the city in the jungle is cursed. Almost every single person who went on the expedition to find the City of the Jaguar in 2015 tested positive for Leishmaniasis. This is a parasitic disease worse than leprosy. It spreads from the bite of a tiny sandfly to digest the soft bones and cartilage in the face of its host, causing deep lesions and disfigurement in one of the most horrible deaths I've ever heard of. The Americans on the team went to the NIH for intravenous amphotericin treatments, expensive with extreme and sometimes deadly side effects. Honduran members of the expedition who were infected were treated with an older, less expensive drug made from the heavy metal antimony, nearly as deadly to humans as arsenic. You have to poison yourself nearly to death to survive. But one team member recovered without treatment, and several team members did not contract the disease at all. Others did not recover, and no one knows why. Parasitology is one of the least funded medical specialties because parasites mostly affect the poorest, most vulnerable people in the world. It is dangerous to study this type of disease, and it has very little payoff to become a parasitologist. No one knows how the sandfly survives in Honduras, or what it eats when it can't get scientists. Tony Fauci told the team they got a cold jolt of what it's like for the bottom billion people on Earth. However, the ethnobotanist on this expedition, Mark Plotkin, studied this disease among indigenous peoples in the Amazon rainforest.
The fact is that these people can sometimes cure things we cannot. Here you see a medicine man in the northeast Amazon treating Leishmaniasis, a really nasty protozoal disease that afflicts 12 million people around the world. Western treatment or injections of antimony. They're painful, they're expensive, and they're probably not good for your heart. It's a heavy metal. This man cures it with 3 plants from the Amazon rainforest.
In fact, hundreds of plants have been identified more recently as antiparasitic agents used by indigenous peoples against Leishmaniasis. Why isn't anyone mentioning this in relation to this story? And why isn't anyone asking how the natives of this area are surviving the parasite today? The World Health Organization has tried to develop a vaccine, but all trials failed. The protozoa are reproducing sexually, allowing new varieties to develop too quickly for a vaccine to effectively prepare someone's immune system against all of them. This makes it one of the most dangerous infections, and it could be the curse capable of ending an entire society.
One of the difficulties with diseases that have reservoirs in animals, it makes it that much more difficult to completely eradicate the disease.
Chaos. A gaping pit waiting to swallow us all. Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
The good news about the City of the Jaguar was published immediately, but some prominent archaeologists were openly outraged and disrespected the entire project.
Anybody can write an adventure story, we have no objection to that. But it's being portrayed as archaeology, and it's not.
Also, the Mosquito Indigenous People group wrote a letter claiming the excavation of the City of the Jaguar was in violation of treaty agreements and demanded the return of all looted artifacts. However, this group only rose to prominence over other tribes by cooperating with European authorities. There's another tribe called the Tawak. They are the smallest and least represented group in Honduras, fewer than 1,000 people, and their traditional territory is in the center of the Mosquitia Rainforest. They haven't been contacted about this project in any regard, and that's my only criticism for the entire project. We should absolutely consult the Tawak. Are they survivors from the city of the Jaguar? How do they handle Lmanasis today? But this story is priceless to me because the most advanced space exploration technology made it possible to explore Earth better than ever before. Archaeology should be seen as a young science, and maybe this bothers some archaeologists. We are literally only beginning to scratch the surface of history, and it turns out humanity has adapted to far more circumstances than we've accounted for. There's a lot more work to be done. I hope I see more scientific expeditions into ancient rainforests before they're destroyed. Besides finding a famous lost city, the team found 3 native animal species thought to be extinct from Honduras, as well as 22 animals never found there before. It's worthwhile to plan this type of mission. They found the lost city of the Jaguar, and I applaud them for what looks like a surgical rapid assessment. But do you agree with the criticism? Is this fake archaeology and thrill-seeking? Should scientists consult indigenous peoples directly before walking into ancient sites like this? Should we ask them how they survived a parasitic epidemic? Leave a comment and like the video if you enjoyed this story, and subscribe to Jungle Magi Fellowship if you want to come along for adventures in heresy and keep learning with me about medical controversies, ethnosciences, and biotechnologies. This is an independent research initiative, and I wish you strength and honor in the unimaginably strange times ahead of us.